Good morning, lady bosses. How are you today? If you're in Southeast Pennsylvania, it's kind of a dreary day, but we've got some gorgeous fall weather setting in, so it's been pretty nice. I'll take it. Okay, we'll wait just a minute or so for some of you to pop on because you ladies are it's so nice to see you taking control and taking control of your time. And I can see that because of the way a lot of you pop on. Watch today be the only day it doesn't happen, but typically so many of you are popping on right at 10 o'clock. So I know you're probably setting your timers and man, you're here right on time. And sure, there's Murphy's Law. Here we are. Well, it's still only 10 o'clock. Nobody's here yet, but I know you'll be here soon. So anyway, we will start, go to 10:01, which we got coming up in a few seconds. Good morning, Deb. Hope you're doing well today. Okay, we're at 10:01. We're going to start and let people hop on as they get here. And hopefully if you get on late, you go back and watch the recording and just catch the little bit in the beginning that you missed. Okay, Deb, good to have you. Well, right now it's you and me, so let's get started. So today we're talking about delegating. And why are we talking about delegating? Because for every woman on this call, and the reason you chose to be part of Lady Bosses is because we never have enough time. We do so much. Every day we pile more on our plates and we never seem to have enough time. And let me tell you, if Christmas came around and I said, okay, for your gift this year, I'm going to give you 3 extra hours in your day, you'd be all flipped out about it because there is nothing we would love more than time. But ladies, there's so many ways we can create time, and delegating is one of them. Delegating is something that is totally going to be the gift of time in your life. Hey, Colleen. So we're going to talk about delegating. We're going to talk about why it's so hard, and I'm going to give you some really strong ideas moving forward for how you can start to delegate things and give yourself that gift. So hey, Colleen's here, Darlene's here. Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's get started. Why is it so hard to delegate? I mean, everything I say now is going to be words that come out of my mouth all the time, but it's, they're not going to do it the way I want it done. It's not going to be done the way I do it. I know I'll micromanage everything. I can't let go. I just got to do it all myself because nobody cares and nobody will do as good a job as me. I've said all those things, and you probably have said all those things too. So that's part of what makes it so hard to let go. And I'm not talking big things. I'm talking even things like loading the dishwasher. Raise your hand if you're one of those people who, after someone else loads your dishwasher, you go in and rearrange everything. I know I'm not the only one, because every time I say something like that, I've got a half dozen people who say, oh my gosh, me too. Yeah, I'm a total control freak. I totally am. So yeah, I will do that. So this is why it's hard for us to delegate. We do things our way, and it's very hard to take things away that we do and let someone else do them who might not do them the same way. Okay, so before I start these sessions, I always do a lot of research, and it's funny because when I research delegating, there's absolutely nothing that speaks to delegating like within your home. It's all talking about a workplace situation. And the things I'm going to talk about will apply to either. So maybe you have a business and you have employees, or maybe you have a hustle that you're working out of your house and you need to get people around the house to start chipping in and doing a little bit more to support the household so you can get your stuff done, right? Okay, so these are going to apply to either. But it's funny how there was really nothing I could find that spoke more to delegating within your home. But again, principles are exactly the same. So the very first most important thing is the people that you want to be part of chipping in and helping you get the job done, whether it's at work or at home, need to understand your vision, okay? They really need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So if you're working out of your house and this is a side hustle that you're trying to build to be something significant, you really need to have a conversation with your whole family and explain to them what you're doing, what your goals are, and how you really need them to be part of your team to get this done. We've talked about other things like distractions and all kinds of other topics. But if you're working out of your house and you've got a teenager popping in every 5 minutes to interrupt you and say, Mom, where's the bread? Or where's this? Where's that? Or what's this? You know how that can just really put you off, and you know how much that wastes time. because every time you have to jump from one thing to another, you're wasting like 20% of your time. So if your family understands what your vision is, what you're trying to accomplish for the family, then they will understand and buy into it a whole lot better than if you just say, do this, do this, do that. Okay. They need to understand, oh, okay, we need to support mom. Mom's actually working. So I can probably find the bread by myself. I'm going to respect this time and leave her alone. Okay. Well, same thing with delegating. They need to understand what you're trying to accomplish and why. And if you have employees, same idea. If you just tell 5 employees that, listen, I need each of you to make 100 phone calls a day, they're not going to have near the excitement about doing it or the drive to care about how they do it if that's all you say to them. But if you say, listen, our franchise is having a contest, and if we can talk to this many people by the end of the month, we might get this big award, or, or we're trying to hit a quota or whatever. That's going to give them the fuel they need to do what you need them to do if they just understand your vision and your goal, right? If you just say do things for the sake of doing them, people aren't going to buy in, and they're really not going to put the effort into it that you want them to put into it, because obviously you want them to do a good job. This is why it's so hard for us to delegate in the workplace. So they need to understand why you need them to help and why they're doing what you're doing. Okay, so obviously first thing, hey, good morning, Amanda. Obviously, the first thing is you have to provide really good instructions. So back to the dishwasher analogy. If you're going to give somebody the responsibility of loading the dishwasher, you might want to instruct them. And really, you don't need to instruct them too much. Just, probably the only thing you really have to say is sharp, pointy things go point down. That's really probably all you have to say. Don't get hung up on making sure they do it the way you do it. There is more than one way to skin a cat. There is more than one way to get your dishes clean. Your dishwasher is not going to disrespect those dirty dishes they loaded because they didn't load them the way you did. Doesn't matter. You have to empower people when you're giving them responsibility. So give them instructions, but basic instructions, okay? Don't overload the washer. Don't put the sharp pointy knives point up. And then next thing is provide them resources and training. Take it a little bit beyond. And this is whether you have employees or whether you're asking for help around the house. Give them resources so that if in doing this job they have some questions, they don't have to be hounding you every 5 minutes. They can go find the answers themselves. And you know what? Lots of times they'll find answers that weren't even things you were aware of. So you're going to be empowering them, and they might find a new, better way of doing something. So, everybody wins, right? So make sure they have resources and training to be able to get their answers and do it a little bit better. That's really important. And in doing all this, what you're doing, what you really want to do is when you're delegating something, delegate the responsibility and the authority for it also. Okay? This is not that you're going to be standing over them with a steel ruler, making sure they do it right and they have to do it the way you want. It's like, nope, this is your responsibility. I'm delegating you to do this, and you have authority. So my favorite story around this topic is Stephen Covey. He wrote the book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And when his son, Stephen, was 7 years old, if you've read him, you've heard this story. But when his son was 7 years old, they were divvying up responsibilities around the house, and he wanted one of the kids to take the responsibility of taking care of the yard. And they called it green and clean. So who's going to take the responsibility for keeping our yard green and clean? So little Stephen said, I'll do that. So they talked about it. They walked outside. They looked at their yard, and they looked at the neighbor's yard, and they said, okay, green. We want it to be green and clean. See how the neighbor's is green and see how ours isn't? And so, okay, well, this is the first goal. Second goal is clean. Look at the neighbor's yard. Look at how clean it is. There's no clutter, no trash. Our yard had trash all over the place. So this is what you want to accomplish. You want our yard needs to be clean and green like the neighbor's, but it's your job. You can do it any way you want. This is totally 100% your responsibility, and you have all the authority. If you want to go out and turn the sprinkler on, that's fine. If you want to stand there for an hour with a hose, that's fine. If you want to be there for 24 hours and just spit on the lawn, that's okay too. He said, seriously, I don't care how you do it. This is your job. Green and clean. That's the result I'm looking for. So any way you want to get there, green and clean. And then he told his son, he said, so who's going to be your boss? And he told his son, he said, you are. You're going to be your own boss. Who's going to judge you? Again, you are. You're going to be the one that judges yourself as to whether or not you did a good job. And who's going to be your helper? And he said, I will be your helper. If I'm available and you need help, you can just say, Dad, I need your help. Can you help me with the yard? And then you just tell me what you need and I'll do it. So he laid that all out for him. This was maybe middle of the week. Gets to the end of the week. His son had done absolutely nothing. Over the weekend, again, absolutely nothing. When he left for work Monday morning, there was trash all over the yard because they'd had a big picnic over the weekend. The trash bags at the curb had all spilled out all over. It was a total mess. But he zipped it, just like took a breath, got in the car, went to work, said, we'll see, maybe he's going to do it today. We'll see what it's like when I get home. So he got home and nothing had been done. And his son's across the street playing catch with the neighbor's son. And again, he just took a breath and he just zipped it and said, Steve, how you doing? He said, hey, Dad, I'm fine. How are you? Good. Did you have a good day? Yeah, had a great day. Let it go. How many of us could just let that go and not be all over them saying, you said you were going to do this and you haven't done a thing yet. Like, what's the problem? Do you need help? Whatever. Nope. He laid the responsibility squarely on his shoulders. So this was totally 100% his gig. So after dinner, he said, he had to address it somehow, but didn't want to undermine his son's, authority and responsibility here. So he said, so let's take a walk outside and let's see how things are going. That's all he said. As soon as he said that, little Steve just dropped his head and he said his lip quivered and he sat on the step and he just started crying. He said, Dad, this is so hard. And his dad knew like what's hard? You didn't do anything. But he just, he just cried like, this is so hard. And he said, have you asked a helper to help you? And he said, well, no. He said, Dad, will you help me? He said, sure. He said, I told you if I'd be here, I'm glad to help you. So you just tell me what to do. So little Steve ran in. He got 2 trash bags and brought him out. And he gave his dad one and he had one. And so they spent, the next few minutes, whatever, picking up all the trash in the yard. And that little thing and him feeling that responsibility just totally on his shoulders was like all it needed to just catapult him into like really, really taking this on and being serious about it. He was really excited then to do the best job he could. And little by little, the yard got greener and greener, stayed clean. And before you know it, the yard looked just as good as the neighbors. So here's the deal. It's not just creating that time for the dad, but how did that empower his son? When you delegate and delegate the responsibility and authority with it, you will empower people so much that their goal is just going to be to do the best job they can, and they're going to want to do more, and they're going to be excited about it. So at the end of it all, make sure you show them the appreciation for the good job they've done. Obviously, just like say thank you. So make sure they know they're appreciated and they've been recognized, especially if, they've done their own research and they found a better way to do something. Make sure you acknowledge that because, hey, there might be a better way to load the dishwasher, not just your way. So that's important. So why is it so hard? Okay. It's so important because, again, we're creating time. It is the gift of time. We're empowering others. So it's a great thing to do, but why is it so hard? We touched on that earlier. It's hard because we want things done our way and we don't think anybody can do things the way we want them done. Right? And that's why it's so hard. I've thought of that a million times. I'm thinking, for as long as it's going to take me to teach somebody to do how to do it, I can just, it's way less time to do it myself. So that brings up a good point. Anything that you're going to do to streamline your life and to create more time for yourself is going to have to come with a permission. And that permission is going to be that initially you might have to invest more time because you do have to train someone to do the job you want them to do. I've used a lot of times as an example is like setting up bill pay in your banking, okay? Setting up bill pay is a lot of time in the beginning to put in all the people you pay bills to every month and put in the account numbers and all that information. But once it's done, once a month, you'll spend less time paying all your bills than you would have spent before writing one check. So the time it's going to take you to teach somebody Might be time you think you don't have, but you have to give yourself permission to take that time to do it, because as soon as you've trained them and they start to do it, now you've got that gift of time. However much time that used to take you, that's a gift now that you have more time to spend on things that are important. So how do you do it? How do you get over the perfectionism and settling for people maybe not doing things the way you think you need them done? You have to let go. You have to learn how to let go. And the best way to do that is start really small. So start really small. If, release the control too. Absolutely, Barb. You have to release the control, release the expectations. That's so important. So start small. So if it's help you need around the house, maybe it's okay. Johnny's responsible for taking out the garbage on Wednesday nights. And let me remind you that if Johnny's old enough to carry out the bags of garbage, I will almost guarantee you Johnny has a smartphone. So you can teach Johnny how to set an alarm for his phone on Wednesday night, reminding him to take the trash out so that every week you don't have to get upset that he's forgetting. So start small. And as one thing's been done and it's been done well, you can add to it. Okay, now maybe we move to the dishwasher. Then maybe we move to letting you help with the wash. But start small. And I'll tell you what, the biggest reason to start small is for you to slowly let go of that control. Because if you let go of control in a small thing, and then you see the benefit of that and the benefit of the time that it gives you back, you'll realize this feels really good. And so you'll be more likely to release the next thing. So each time you release something, you're going to have that great feeling of the time it gave you to focus on the things that are important, and you're going to be able to let go of more. So start small. That's going to make it easier to let go. And like I said about the dishwasher, the dishes will get clean. It doesn't matter how they stack them. So let go of the idea that they have to be stacked your way. It doesn't matter. Let them do it their way because it's their job. You're giving them the authority, remember? And then the most important thing is establish a really good system of priority. Okay, what are the things you have to do? And at the top of the list, the most important things are the things that have the most degree of effort and skill. And they are the things that only you can do. I obviously can't delegate having somebody else do these lives. This is at the top of the list of the things I do in this group, so I can't do that. But could I elicit help from someone, maybe doing my postings, helping me set up my postings, helping me find my content? Okay, that's logical. I could find help doing that. So you have to think about the things that are most important that you have to do. And sometimes you'll come to that, like, what are you really good at? Now, sometimes you're good at things you shouldn't be wasting your time on, but sometimes they're the things only you can do. So I really love numbers. I love balancing my checkbook. I could totally be a bean counter. I am a bean counter at heart. But is that a really smart use of my time? That's not income producing time for me. So here's another place where I talked about giving yourself permission to spend time doing something. You also might need to give yourself permission to spend money, to pay somebody to do the things that you either can't do well. Because if you hate numbers, do you really want to be balancing your books, or do you really want to be tracking your receipts and figuring out what you should be paying in quarterly taxes? You don't want to be doing all that if you're not good at it. Talk about what a headache. But again, that's not making you any money. Sitting and spending time, working on spreadsheets and doing this and doing that isn't making you any money. So delegate the stuff that you're not good at or that isn't important for income producing activity in your business. Okay, so you might have to give yourself permission to spend money to have somebody do that. I spend money and have somebody clean my house every 2 weeks because I don't have the time and I don't want to do it. I don't enjoy doing it. But you know what? Not having to worry about that frees up more time for me to spend on my business. Now, the thing to be aware of, if it's giving you more time, you still have to guard your time. You don't want to be spending however many hours a day you spend on your business, again, crunching numbers, building spreadsheets, doing things. That stuff might have to be done, but if you're not delegating it and you're choosing to do it, just make sure that at the end of the day, you haven't spent your whole day doing stuff like that because you've done nothing to grow your business. And that's my final point. My final point with any of the things I talk about in this group comes back to your why. Okay, why do you want to do this? If you have goals that are really important to you, you need them in front of you all the time because that is going to be what drives you every day. to spend whatever time you need growing your business, growing your audience, not crunching numbers, not playing with spreadsheets, not listening to podcasts. While that's all fine and good, if it's taking you away from the real income producing activity, then either you need to just prioritize your time or you have to let go of some of the things that are more important so you spend the time on the important stuff. So that's all I've got, but I would love to hear from you right now. In listening to all this, is there anything that's come into your mind that you realize maybe you really need to think about letting go of? What could you let go of and delegate to someone else that would really free up some time for you to spend more time on your business? I would love to hear some of your thoughts. There's always a little bit of a lag between the time people type in a chat and I see it. Because I know with my husband's business, I've said a million times, like, I'd love to hand over this part of it or that part of it. And then I think, oh my gosh, for the time it would take to train someone, it's just easier to do it myself. And I have to sit down with somebody at some point and just figure out, how can I hand some stuff off? Definitely housework, Colleen. And Colleen, we've talked in the past too about like distractions, and a distraction of housework when you're working at home is like, oh, I'm walking past the washer, so let me throw a load in. Let me throw this in. I do my wash on Sundays. That's it. I throw it in on Sundays because if you're being, we call it switch tasking or many tasking during the day, you're jumping from one thing to another, you're being 20% less productive. So right there, you are throwing your time down the toilet. You don't want to do that. So try and structure things. If you're going to do your own cleaning, decide certain times this is when I'm going to do it and not any other time. I'm not going to be distracted by a dirty house in between. That's very important. But if you can, think about the time. I have cleaning done once every 2 weeks. What you pay for cleaning, how many new clients would you need to offset that? So in that time, how many more people could you talk to? It might not be hard to do that. Let's see. What else do we have? Norma, how do you decide to let go? For me, it's my house, but I hate paying for it. That's it. You decide it by looking at your why. If it's going to take, say, 3 hours every other week for somebody to clean your house, then in 3 hours, how many people can you talk to? How many people can you become more exposed to who know what you're doing? How can you start planting seeds to build your business? That's how you justify it. And you've always heard you've got to spend money to make money. And you truly do. You cannot grow a business without spending money. And if that's what's going to help you to have more time to build your business, then you've got to at least give it a try. Give it a try for 6 months and see what happens. You have to give that a shot. You really do. Because again, it's not just that. When you're home, the biggest problem is the distraction. Even if you're paying for house cleaning every couple weeks, it's still the distraction, walking past something that really quick needs to be dusted or anything else and walking by it. You've got to stay laser sharp focused on what you're doing. Yeah, a lot of house cleaning. Michelle says Facebook surfing. That's huge. And you know what, guys, that's really hard when you've got a really good social media strategy in place. Because you get on with all the best intentions, right? Like, I'm going to do this and this and this on social media today to increase my audience and to brand myself, whatever it is you're doing. And then next thing you know, oh, look what Sally had for dinner. And oh, wow, look at this new store that opened in town. So it's really critical if you've got a social media strategy and a certain amount of things you want to do every day, set your timer. And within that time, make sure you are laser focused on the things you have to do to complete that strategy for the day. Don't do anything else. And if it's hard to do on a daily basis, but you want to do it on, maybe compile all your content on the weekend so that when you're doing it during the week, it's easier. You can just pull from that. If you have a scheduler and you can schedule it, schedule everything on a Sunday for the whole week and then you're done. And then save your surfing. Look, if you're crashing on the sofa at 9:30 at night and that's totally your downtime, and then you want to surf Facebook, that's totally okay. When it starts interfering, though, with the time that you've dedicated to being productive and working on your business, that's when it becomes a problem. So set the timer. And at the end of the timer, as soon as you're finished doing what you have to do, you just have to shut it down because now you've got to move to the next thing. So it's just being that strict with your time. It really is. And again, it all comes down to your focus, having your focus being so sharp that, look, this is what I want to accomplish. And if I sit fooling around on Facebook for 2 hours, I'm not going to accomplish that. You can also use scheduling on places like Tailwind. It allows you to control the time. Exactly. If that's going to help you with your social media strategy, again, even for lady bosses, many times on a Sunday, I'll post my content for the whole week and then just schedule it for when I want it to pop up. And if you pay attention to it, you'll see how many things pop up 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. When it's random times, I'm posting it live. And if I've got crazy weeks, sometimes that's what I have to do. But definitely scheduling is the way to go, because then you don't have to get on Facebook or Instagram at all. Okay, if you've got it scheduled, it's already going to happen. You don't have to get on at all. So you don't have the temptation of scrolling for 2 hours and now like, oh, great, now what did I get done? So very important. Set a timer, schedule, do whatever you have to do, but they're the best things I can advise to not let you get sucked in to that Facebook scroll that's going to be all day. So anything else, any other ideas you've had through this segment that are things that you think you can let go of? Yeah, great ideas. And the thing is, we have a lot of common ideas here with the housekeeping and the Facebook scrolling. They're two killers. And again, when you're working at home, the distractions are the toughest thing to deal with. Okay, well, we're 10:26, so we'll wrap it up. So again, it's great spending a Tuesday morning with you. And if you've gotten any value out of this, I'd love to have you invite some friends to be part of Lady Bosses and tell them about this and say, hey, hop on, you can watch the replay. I think it's something that could really help you. I've got a goal to grow this group to 300 by the end of the year. We're at 119 now, I think. And I'm going to throw out an incentive. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but at the end of the year, right after you've spent all that money on the holidays, it might be a little nice to have something to put in your pocket. So I'd love you to start inviting people. I don't know what the incentive is yet, but I'll tell you what, I'll start it today. Any new members that sign up, I will keep track of who invited them, and we'll throw you into a drawing today. But I'm thinking maybe like a $100 gift card by the end of the year. You know what? I just said it, so let's just do it. If we hit 300 members by the end of the year, and I'm going to be doing a whole lot of work to do that too, so mine will just help boost the numbers. But anybody who invites somebody who joins. Now remember, if you just mass invite people and they don't actually come into the group and answer the questions and decide to join, then it doesn't count. They have to actually come in and decide to join. But love you to invite people. If you found value, share it with your female entrepreneurial friends, because these are things we're all struggling with, and maybe we can all help each other. Okay, ladies, again, great seeing you. Good morning, Lori. We're saying goodbye now, but Lori, I hope you'll jump back on and watch the recording. Okay, ladies, have a great week. I will talk to you. See you next week.